Good morning, Patriots. Constitution Vet here, and welcome back to my channel. As we saw last week, an awakening is taking place. All across the world, people are rising up and fighting back against their oppressors. From the brave Canadians standing up to their tyrannical dirtbag, to the courageous Aussies who refuse to submit to oppressive monsters. The fires of liberty are blazing throughout, and this fire cannot be stopped. As we continue this fight well into the future, we must never forget the bones of the past. Today, we'll be exploring key moments within Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago. This is not just another primary source. The writings of Solzhenitsyn are a warning, telling us that the Gulag system can happen again. And as we're seeing, it is happening again. Before we get started, here's some context. Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn served in the Soviet army during World War II. Afterward, he was thrown into the Gulag system. Now, the Gulags were work labor camps spread all throughout Russia. Now, these camps dwarfed the concentration camps in Germany. Now, those camps in Germany were horrific and they were absolutely terrible. But no one ever thinks about the Gulag system. Solzhenitsyn calls it the Gulag Archipelago because, like a geographic archipelago, the camps dotted the entire Soviet Union like islands. To give you an idea on how large this archipelago was, every single tower on this map represents a gulag. And that's not even the full map. There's the second half. The Gulag Archipelago, or the Gulag system, represents a moment in time where anyone could be arrested for anything and thrown into one of these camps. Life in these camps was truly horrific. For time purposes, I can't read the entire book, but we will go through key moments that really illustrate how the Gulag network still exists today. One final sobering fact before we dive into this. The average amount of deaths during the Holocaust was around 6 million. The average number of deaths in the Soviet Union, thanks to the Gulag Archipelago, 66 million. Let that sink in as we traverse the writings of Solzhenitsyn. As always, Patriots, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and keep supporting the brave Patriots down below. Now, without any further ado, sit back, relax, grab your drink, and let's get started. The proofs of guilt were relative, approximate, and the interrogator could find them, even when there was no evidence and no witnesses, basing his conclusions not only on his own intellect, but also on his party sensitivity, his moral forces, and on his character. This provides a solid foundation to the entire Soviet Union. You could be arrested and interrogated for anything. No evidence was needed. There were no trials. There were no juries. You could get silenced over anything. If you challenged the narrative, you were canceled. Although others might not be aware of it, it was clear to the interrogators that the cases were fabricated. Except at staff conferences, they could not seriously say to one another that they were exposing criminals. Nonetheless, they kept right on producing depositions, page after page, to make sure we rotted. So the essence of it all turns out to be the credo of the underworld of Russian thieves. You today, me tomorrow. Just like the maggots at CNN, the Soviet interrogators knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew their depositions were fabricated and fake, but they kept doing it. Why? Because if you dare challenge the narrative, if you dare speak out against the state, you must be silenced. To stick you or accuse you of a charge, that was no problem. Some examples of things you could be charged with are as follows. Hostile activity against the policy of the Soviet Communist Party and the Soviet government. Expression of defeatist fabrications. Expression of slanderous opinions about the material situation of the workers of the Soviet Union. Expression of a desire for the restoration of a capitalist system. Expression of a grudge against a Soviet government. I call this platform Soviet Tube for a reason. Their rules, their guidelines come straight from the Soviet playbook. So call them out for what they truly are. Soviets. That's not a term to be taken lightly. So every time the oppressive rulers of this platform kick people out of the virtual town square, the moment where people are shunned and discredited because they dare question the narrative, that is all happening for one reason. Because the oppressive Soviet rulers are hiding something. They don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to realize what's really going on. Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn finishes his work with this quote. All you freedom-loving left-wing thinkers in the West, you left laborites, you progressive American, German, and French students, as far as you are concerned, none of this amounts to much. As far as you are concerned, this whole book of mine was a waste of effort. You may suddenly understand it all someday, but only when you yourselves hear the following phrase: hands behind your backs, and step ashore to our archipelago. The purpose of this video was not to frighten or scare you. Instead, let this be more fuel to your fire. We know the horrors of the Soviet Union happened. We know that Soviet tactics are being employed as we speak. Use the work of Solzhenitsyn as gasoline to your fire of liberty. Never cower, never back down, never comply, never surrender, never submit. This is Constitution Vet, signing out.